Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
This is my boomstick.
Here's Johnny.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Righteous! Righteous! Yeah!
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Good morning, Vietnam!
Houston, we have a problem.
The first rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, finally. My name is Will Spalding, and as always, I am joined by the ever fantastic Sam Dierberger. Sam, what's going on? I haven't heard from you.
I am ever fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Both, obviously, I am fantastic as a person at all times.
Mm-hmm.
But personally, me, how I'm feeling, I also happen to be fantastic right now. Quick temperature check. I just need to brag for a second. It is 70 degrees in Kansas City, Missouri right now, and it is November 16th.
Yeah,
as we record this. I am utterly enthralled with my current living situation. You would not believe it.
Well, I can tell you in Iowa, in Ames, Iowa, central Iowa, it was 22 a couple days ago, and we're up to 60 right now. So this is pretty nice too.
Oh, it's wonderful. People who just complain about climate change, I'm like, can't you just? You're obviously not from the upper Midwest. Yeah. Just get over yourself.
That's an official statement.
That is an official statement. That is going to be when we already have millions of listeners, but when we have hundreds of millions of listeners, that is going to be the thing that gets us canceled.
Yeah, it will. our stance on climate change.
Oh man. Yeah.
But good, Sam. You're good. It's warm. That's awesome. We've been gone for 2 weeks now, which is the first time that's ever happened.
Right.
Just a little explanation before I'll let you introduce what we're going to be doing today. Mm-hmm. 2 weeks ago, when we sat down to record, Sam and I got on a call as we normally do. We were chatting a little bit beforehand. Probably got about 10 minutes in, and then I was kind of like, you know what, should we get to recording? And you said, yeah, let's do it. French Dispatch. And I go, oh, I thought we were doing Last Night in Soho. we had some miscommunication in what film we were doing. I didn't have the French Dispatch in Ames, but chronologically that was the one we were doing. So we had to postpone until the next week, in which we were going to do. So that would be last week, in which we were going to do Last Night in Soho, right. And my internet was down for 6.5 days, so we couldn't do it then either, unfortunately. So we had to delay to this week. So you're welcome for sparing your ears 2 weeks of listening to Sam and I's voices. But Sam, with all of the housekeeping duties up to date, can you let us know what this episode is going to look like?
So yeah, we're doing something that's kind of unprecedented in those film nerds history. Yep. We're gonna do not one, not two, but three kind of mini reviews of some of the movies that we have been seeing in theaters but haven't gotten to yet. And that's not just because we've been out for 2 weeks. It's also that these were some movies that kind of slipped by the wayside that we wanted to get to, that we think weren't good discussion, but aren't kind of the major releases that we're really anticipating doing full episodes on anyway. So it kind of works out. But this week we will be talking about the French Dispatch. We'll be talking about Last Night in Soho, and then we will be talking about Spencer. So all very exciting things. I don't know if you want to play 3 trailers right in a row, Will, but
I decided we'd skip that this week. There'd be too much external audio going on. Yeah, but this will be interesting. We'll do maybe 20 minutes on each, hit grades for all of them, and wrap up with some weekly recommendations. And I think Sam, you said Dispatch, Soho, Spencer, correct?
Yes.
In that order? Okay, we'll do it in that order. Order of when they were released. So yeah, but before, Sam, we get into these three illustrious films, a little bit of industry news to discuss. I only have one bit. I don't know if you have anything else. And we just talked just barely about this off air. But let me know your anticipations for Leonardo DiCaprio playing infamous cult leader Jim Jones in an MGM film.
Oh, my two favorite people.
That'll be the other thing that gets us canceled.
That's another cancelable comment. No, I've said this before. I think I've recommended on the show a Jonestown documentary called Jonestown Terror in the Jungle. I think a bootleg version is available on YouTube right now. Check that out. But I've always been fascinated by Jonestown. I think it's one of these underrated chapters of history, obviously extremely dark. But 918 American citizens died in Guyana in 1978, and we just don't talk about it.
Yeah.
1978 was only a generation ago. You know, it wasn't like
that's modern. Yeah, that's modern.
That's modern history. And, you know, we talk about obviously, you know, the tragedy of 9/11 where over 3,000 Americans died, nearly 3,000 Americans. But a third of that number of Americans died in 1978 all at once. And we don't discuss it. And I've always wondered why it's not in the culture more, why we don't have a kind of something to look to that really illustrates the tragedy. Because all we have is kind of a handful of documentaries. Until now, Leonardo DiCaprio is playing Jim Jones, which is an extremely gutsy role to take on.
He's just going to be so outlandish and so bold and so wacky. I think he'll be good though.
I think it'll be fantastic. I just think it's really ambitious for an A-lister, a reputable actor like Leonardo DiCaprio to take on a role like this, because if he's doing Jim Jones justice, Jim Jones was one of the most evil people to ever live. I firmly believe that. And if you understand the story of Jonestown, you'll know why.
Yeah.
So to me, it's the equivalent of like another A-lister willingly taking on the role of Adolf Hitler. Like, it's such a I respect the I guess audacity.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with the Jonestown Massacre, I'm going to call it a massacre because that's what it was. It's been dubbed as a mass suicide, but it isn't that. Go read just the Wikipedia article on the Jonestown event, because that in short will sum almost everything up. Yeah, you're right. Jim Jones, terrible person, obviously. I'm more interested to see who the supporting cast will be and who will be the major players. Is it going to be a one-man show, or is this going to be kind of an ensemble? I'll be curious to see what that looks like. Yeah. And we don't have a director, Sam. Anyone you think could approach this, or is this just this is kind of a Leo thing and he'll just get somebody?
It strikes me as like weirdly like a James Cameron or a Ridley Scott kind of picture, because you have a lot of moving pieces.
Well, it's large in scope, like you said. I mean, almost 1,000 people.
You have to have a lot of extras. You have to build kind of some grandiose sets, or you know, someone who has expertise in making a biopic.
Sure.
And a dark biopic at that, you know.
Tim Burton.
Little Tim Burton.
Okay. Yep, I'm with you.
I want to see what Tim Burton would do with that. Oh my
well,
God.
there'd be puppets everywhere, but other than that, sounds good.
That's so terrifying. Yeah, but this is a project got announced this week, and we're very excited for it.
Yeah. I mean, we're years out from this, but certainly interesting. Like you said, it's definitely bold. It's for DiCaprio to be handling this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. The other piece of news I wanted to talk about was, and I don't, I fancy myself a casual Star Wars fan. I'm about ingrained in it as anyone else, but Ewan McGregor teases a Vader rematch in Obi-Wan Kenobi series first look. So Disney went ahead and posted this weird kind of featurette thing to their YouTube channel. Have you seen this, Will?
I'm not quite sure what you're referring to, but I don't think I have.
So they're making this Obi-Wan Kenobi
TV series. Yep.
TV series for Disney Plus.
Yep.
And rather than dropping a trailer, they kind of just dropped this featurette featuring the director, the screenwriter, one of the screenwriters, and Ewan McGregor kind of talking about what's going into the show. And for once, I'm kind of excited for this. And like I said, I'm a casual Star Wars fan, but it's taking place obviously between the events of Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. And it's just going to follow Obi-Wan Kenobi around as he tries to protect Luke Skywalker. But the really interesting thing is that they're bringing back Hayden Christensen to play Darth Vader, which I'm not sure how that's going to work out. But I think it's a very interesting move and pretty exciting. And I recommend everyone checks out this kind of featurette they put out.
It's on YouTube, you said?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a teaser.
Okay. How long is it?
Like a couple minutes.
Oh, okay. So trailer length, but it's not really a trailer.
It's not a trailer because I don't think it really features any. It features some behind the scenes looks.
Okay, but nothing that we'll see on screen. Okay.
Right.
Or maybe not a lot, at least. Okay.
Yeah.
I got you. Interesting. Yeah, I'm really excited for this TV show. I think it'll be cool. I love Ewan McGregor. I think Obi-Wan's a great character. And Hayden Christensen coming back as Vader. I don't know. Maybe he's matured as an actor. He's in the Ahsoka TV show too. So clearly Disney thinks something is going on with him. Maybe he'll be in a mask the whole time, so they don't care. That could be it too. And that is more possible. Of a publicity thing. Like, hey, look at this. Anakin's back. We'll see.
Right.
I'm kind of wishing it was Jake Lloyd, but you can't win them all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder if more movies will do that.
Yeah,
or TV shows, whatever.
Yeah, it's really. I'm well. I know why Ewan is coming back. It makes sense to me, but it's because it's money, but also it's just an awkward amount of time that's elapsed since 2005.
Five was Revenge of the Sith. Yeah,
Revenge of the Sith. 16 years ago.
16 years.
That's so crazy. And I don't know where it's at with production. I don't know how far along with filming they are, but expect something interesting for sure.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
pretty excited.
Well, hey Sam, should we move on to our 3 movies?
Yes, let's move on to our 3 movies.
Yeah. Well, like you said, we can just start with First Dispatch, and I think we have to say Dispatch and Last Night in Soho might be 2 of the most visually unique movies we've seen of the year. And we kind of knew both of that coming in. But just general thoughts, Sam. I was quite pleased with what I got in Wes Anderson's The French Dispatch. And it was great seeing it in theaters too. This is my first Wes Anderson movie in theaters, and I thought it was just awesome.
As was I. It was exactly what I wanted.
Yeah, it was a treat. It really was
a true treat. And I think it is just, everyone. This is my central. If there's a problem with this movie, it's this, and it's not a problem. It's more of like a quandary, perhaps. Everyone, since I've seen it, has come up to me and said, "You saw the French Dispatch?" I said, "Yeah, I did." And they're like, "I've heard it's just Wes Anderson doing Wes Anderson," and I'm like, "It is, but like
There's
every
no
Wes
problem with
Anderson
that.
movie is him doing Wes Anderson, right? Like,
Yeah.
the man is so certain about his style, and very stubborn about his style too. Like, I mean, it is, but it's wonderful. It's great because it is Wes Anderson.
This might be the most Wes Anderson. I don't know what would top it. But yeah. I mean, you can't expect anything else going into it. I mean, he's only going to keep doing this. I don't think there's another director out there. I was talking about this with a friend. I don't think there's another director out there that is a genre like Wes is. So I mean, so he's going to do his genre.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how he's going to. I don't know how he's going to top this. You know what I mean? You're not going to top this cast, right?
Yeah, dude. I mean,
he like he's not going to be able to get away with this again. And in a certain way, it does make sense. The criticisms do make sense. Like, how is he gonna come back from this? Because it's so over the top and it's so outlandishly Wes Anderson. But I think he'll be creative and he'll come up with something smaller, and a little less ambitious, maybe. But this movie, for what it is wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah, let's kind of. I guess let's just break this down into kind of how the movie was structured, because it is very it's almost like three separate movies in its own right. We get our intro of Bill Murray's character, the head of the French Dispatch, and we kind of get Owen Wilson talking to us for a while. I don't know if I super enjoyed the Owen Wilson stuff.
I'm with you on that. Yeah,
it felt like he was shoving so much information at us, and he did this the whole movie, but especially the Owen Wilson stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what's going on right now, and it didn't really have any relevance to the rest of the movie, unless I just missed it. But there was a point where I was like, this needs to stop right now. This is getting to be a little much for me. But I don't know. What do you think of the first? It was literally like 5 minutes, so I can't super complain about it.
It doesn't really. It's kind of like a mini vignette. It's very short.
Yeah, almost like a prologue.
It's a prologue, but it really doesn't have much to do with. I mean, it has to. He does this cycling tour of the town of Vigny, France, and I mean, yeah, it's technically where the story takes place, but it's not like we need to have that backstory. I think it was really just something. It feels like Owen Wilson was just shoehorned in for that specific part.
Like Wes wanted to get his buddy in the movie.
I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
I really.
He ate a slice of cake at the end, Sam.
Oh, he did, didn't he?
So that was important.
That was very important. But yeah, I didn't super enjoy that part because it threw off the pacing, at least in the first act of the film, because we have kind of a shorter vignette. So really, it's like 4 stories.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Not great. But then we move into this story called The Concrete Masterpiece.
Oh, dude, this one was so awesome.
This was amazing.
Yeah. I loved every second of this one. And it could have lasted three hours, and I would have been cool with it.
Oh my God. I wanted this to be expanded. I really did. I want a full-length movie made on The Concrete Masterpiece, because Benicio del Toro.
Dude, holy crap. He was incredible.
He was great. He was great. Kind of unrecognizable too. And oh my God. Just the premise of this, right? Like this idea of a mentally disturbed man who randomly becomes an artist and his muse is the prison guard.
That was a great, because I had seen the trailer obviously, and I knew Leah Sedo's character was some sort of police officer or something of that nature, because we had seen her in uniform.
Yeah.
And the first shot of her is him painting her in the nude, and I'm like, what is she doing? Like, what's going on? And then she puts her clothes on, and she's a prison guard. I'm like, I was laughing. I was like, oh, that's hilarious.
It's a textbook show don't tell.
Yeah.
That whole bit where she puts on the prison uniform and like buttons her coat back up and then leaves. Absolutely brilliant. And Adrian Brody is also great.
Adrian was awesome. Yeah.
We have Henry Winkler showing up.
That was one of the ones in this movie, Sam, where I'm like, I knew a lot of people were in this. Obviously, I knew Benicio and Adrian Brody, and I knew Willem showed up, but there's a couple times I'm like, Liev Schreiber's in this? What? Henry Winkler? Like, just a bunch of people just popping up.
Yeah. Phenomenal. So yeah, great. Great first story there.
Yeah.
Had a great time with it. The second one, how do we feel about the second one?
Weak. It was weak.
It was weak.
I really didn't want it to be either, because I love Francis, obviously, and Chalamet is a great up and coming actor. Honestly, can't even really say up and coming anymore. He's established.
You really can't. Like,
he's established himself as
pretty much made it
as an A-list actor. I didn't really know what this story was. We had some chess stuff going on. We had this youth activism, and there was a weird thing with Francis and Timmy. That was odd. I didn't really know what was going on in this one. Narratively, yes, I knew what was happening, but I didn't know what Wes was going for with this one. And I found it to be the weakest of the three.
I kind of knew what he was going for, but it's one of those that was more heavily focused on the dialogue versus the storyline.
Yeah.
It seems. I think the dialogue in the second one was really, really clever. Kind of this young, pretentious student revolutionary attitude that they shared. I think Chalamet's great for that.
He plays the same character in Lady Bird, which is funny too. Or
he pretty much does. Yeah. And he could have, he just exudes that attitude to begin with. So it's like he probably acted in his sleep through this.
Yeah.
But,
he's good. Francis is good. I'm not saying this is a bad 30 minutes of the movie. I just thought it was a little weaker than its predecessor and its successor.
Yeah, I wasn't crazy about it. And also it's the least star-studded of the three.
Yeah. You're right.
You got Francis and you got Timothy, and then Christoph Waltz shows up briefly.
Yeah, I didn't know he was in it either. That was cool.
Yeah.
I thought this one, we talked about it a little bit, but Wes is just so very like punctual with how he does things, and everything is intentional, obviously. And this one, I almost thought he broke it a couple times. Like with the way the camera moved sometimes, I thought it was just a little different than what he normally does too. Maybe I'm just crazy, but I thought, especially in that end scene,
with the tear gas and everything.
Yeah. Most of the time the characters, of course this isn't video, but I'm reenacting it. The characters are very still and they kind of move their heads and their body with purpose. And this time I kind of felt like Chalamet was just kind of like wandering around with his head and body a little bit. I don't know. It was it felt out of character for Wes too. So there's just a couple times where I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, the black and white was really it changes the dynamic of things. But then, the story is supposed to be chaotic. They have this revolution, and the way that Wes does violence, you're right. It is even the chaotic violence Wes does it very intentionally.
Yeah.
We'll see in the third story. There's this gunfight.
No one shot. Yeah, I mean, it's the same in Grand Budapest. Like,
yeah,
why were 10,000 bullets fired and everyone's just still shooting?
It's so funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. This is the weaker of the three. But I still enjoyed it. I think.
Yeah, I would, if I were to grade them separately, this would still be like a 3 stars. Like 3. Right. So this is still fine. You know.
Right. No, I'm with you. So then I guess we can move on to the third one then.
Yeah, let's do it. This is the best. Saoirse's awesome. Those are maybe the best 4 minutes of screen time this year. I'm trying to think of other things. All right, this is the last thing I say about Saoirse Ronan. Actually, 2 more things. Okay. Hilarious of her just shooting a pistol on top of a bunk bed. I thought that was awesome.
Right.
And B, the shot. I think this is the best shot of the movie. Maybe it's just because of the face I was staring at. But when she looks through the mesh wiring, and its color and her eyes are bright blue.
Yeah.
That was a fantastic shot from the kid's perspective. That was awesome. Okay. And that's all I have to say about Saoirse Ronan. That was it.
Her eyes are absolutely hypnotic.
Yeah.
There's no way around it. I'm like, Jesus.
But yeah, let's start from the beginning. Jeffrey Wright, endlessly charismatic. He was great.
Very charismatic. Yes.
And he's kind of had a resurgence this year with Bond and whatnot. But he's been kind of away for a while, and I hope he kind of comes back. He's awesome.
Yeah. He's going to portray Commissioner Gordon in the Batman.
Oh, good.
Yes,
he'll be good at that.
He'll be good. Yeah. Anyway, so Jeffrey Wright and this kind of. At first, I wasn't sure about this story. It's a very convoluted plot. I'm like, what is going on with the chef and the commissioner and this weird convoluted kidnapping plot.
Yeah.
And it's all being told through through Jeffrey Wright's character, who's a food journalist, and he's recounting this experience on a talk show. Because if you take a step back for a moment, it's just this Russian nest doll thing. Because we're like, first of all, we're watching this movie about a newspaper, and then within the newspaper, there's this story, and within this story, there's a guy on a talk show telling another story.
It was like Frenchception.
Yes, Frenchception. Beautiful.
Yeah, you're right. And then eventually we see Bill Murray asking about his writing of the story too. So it's even a little extra layer.
Yeah, it's really weird. It's preposterous. So anyway, yeah, it is a convoluted plot, but it ends up being so just ridiculous and funny.
This one might have been the funniest one.
It was the funniest one.
Yeah.
Ultimately culminating in a shootout at the end, which again was just preposterous and hilarious all at once.
So let me ask you, Sam, how'd that animation, maybe 3 minutes work for you? 3-4 minutes?
Yeah, if it was someone else, I would have hated it. But
yeah,
it's Wes Anderson, so
I walked out of the theater thinking, man, he can just do whatever he wants, and we say okay.
I know.
No, Tarantino, I guess, didn't Kill Bill, but so there's 2 people. Like 2 people can do that, and it's acceptable. But I just think that's crazy. That's awesome that he can do basically whatever he wants.
And it was smart too. It was intentional because filming a car chase scene like that, a chase scene, is just impossible when you're Wes Anderson. You can't film that because, a chase scene inherently has
bumps in the road. Yeah.
A lot of intercutting shots, a lot of shaky camera work, a lot of like handheld stuff. And you can't do that. You can't do that on a tripod and make it look real. So it was definitely intentional. I think Wes wrote himself into a corner and he said, oh, you know what? Screw it. We'll just make this part animated.
Which is so awesome. That's so
I bet
great.
his cinematographer was like, dude, I don't know how we're gonna do this. And he goes, okay, we'll just animate it.
We'll just animate it. Screw it. Yeah, that was awesome. And you mentioned, I think this story really comes together with the conclusion with Bill Murray talking with Jeffrey Wright, and he's like, "What does this have to do with food?" And we kind of circle back. Which, by the way, the chef, all-time character, loved the chef. The fact that he's willing to eat the poison, to save his master, or like his employer's son, is just awesome. And anyway, we circle back to Jeffrey Wright telling the story of how the chef ate the poison and then was describing how he had never tasted a flavor like that, and that tasting a flavor at his tasting a new flavor at his age was his form of beauty. Was awesome. I thought that was quite lovely.
Yeah, that was
Great.
funny. This idea of like poison being so flavorful, like it was all worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
And it circled back to where you're like, oh, okay, that's why he wrote this article, because that's the food aspect of it.
Yeah.
Which was
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. Absolutely. So I guess that's all three stories, Sam. How does this ending work for you? You know, we know Bill Murray's character dies at the beginning, and we circle back to it at the end. We kind of see all of the writers in the room kind of memorializing him. Does that work for you? Does it miss a little bit on the fact that we don't really know who Bill Murray's character is, because he's not in it that much?
We really don't. Yeah, he's not. He's kind of presented to be the center of the story, but he's not at all.
Yeah.
And I
I'm
guess
just wondering how
that's
this works.
and maybe that's the point. You know, it's this funny. It's Wes Anderson doing that funny like switch. You know, you're supposed to be paying attention to this, but really it's just pointless. You know, that was a red herring. You don't really need to know anything about Bill Murray's character, because it's the journey along the way. It's the stories in the newspaper that make up the point of the movie. So I didn't mind the ending. I thought it ended a bit awkwardly, but I thought it was funny.
Yeah, I did too.
And yeah, I didn't mind it. How about you?
Yeah, I liked it. It felt nice to end it on color as well. I thought the black and white was used effectively, but you know, part of the Wes Anderson experience is all these colors that you get to see, and just how vibrant it is. So it was cool to end it on that as well. And yeah, you know, it was a happy note too. You know, these 10 people in the room remembering a friend. Yeah, it was cool. It was good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool. Should we do a rating on it?
Yeah. Let's get a rating and move on to Last Night in Soho. I'll let you start.
Dude, I'm gonna go 4 stars on this.
Nice.
I really had a great time.
Nice. Where does this sit in your Wes Anderson ranking? Do you have that list accessible, or
do I have a list accessible? I haven't made a Wes Anderson ranking.
Oh, really? Well, then just guess. Where do you?
I'm missing some big ones. I don't know. Maybe his third best, I would say.
Okay.
How about you?
So I have this at a 3.5. You know, I just didn't enjoy the second one as much as I wanted to. I thought that first 5 minutes with Owen Wilson was awkward, and just a few other minor qualms got me to a 3.5. I have it sitting at 6, and it will likely move up to 5 shortly upon further reflection, just because this one was just so much fun.
Right.
But you know, the 6th best Wes Anderson movie is like any other director's best movie. So
Right.
I'm not.
Right.
This isn't me piling on him. But yeah, this one was real fun.
I think
This will be a great rewatch too.
Oh yeah, it'll hold up, I think, wonderfully.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. With that, should we move on to Last Night in Soho?
Let's do it, man. Let's do it. Last Night in Soho, another extremely visually unique movie from someone who we obviously know is going to provide visually unique movies with Edgar Wright. Wow, I was blanking on his name.
Edgar Wright.
Sam, I guess let me just ask, do you have any exposure to Edgar Wright? He's just got a bunch of niche movies, so I'm not sure if you.
I do. I mean, I know, Baby Driver, obviously, which was one of the bigger disappointments I've ever experienced. I am not a fan of that movie.
Which I agree with you, Sam, and we are in a camp of our own because everyone loves Baby Driver.
I don't get why. I think Edgar Wright is stylistically interesting. I do. This kind of obsession with soundtracks, right? That's his thing. He likes mixing soundtracks and juxtaposing them with interesting scenes on the screen.
Yep.
And I think that is his talent. His talent is soundtrack selection. Can he shoot pretty cinematography? Yes, he can. But in terms of crafting a story, crafting a narrative, I don't think he's that great.
Interesting.
That's where I'm at with Edgar Wright. What's your exposure? How do you feel about him?
I've seen all of his movies. I believe this was his sixth.
Okay.
Yeah, he was sixth. Yeah, I'm up and down with him. He has some real big hits and then some misses too. I think he's trying a lot of stuff that a lot of people aren't. So that's cool. That's good to see. Instead of just doing kind of the same thing that everyone else is doing, he's going out there and doing different stuff. I guess that would be my thought on Edgar Wright. I love this movie, dude. I know you're gonna agree with me or disagree with me a little bit, but I thought this was great.
Okay.
I thought it was a ton of fun, oddly. And the scenes that are made to be fun are awesome. Those first couple nights where Thomas and Mackenzie's character, I saw this movie a month ago now, so I'm not a month, but yeah, probably a couple weeks ago. Eloise.
Yeah.
Those first couple nights where she gets dropped in Sandy's body, those were just a blast. Just an awesome dance scene in the club, and the super cool effects with the whole they're switching bodies and in the mirror and everything like that was super cool. I know where you are coming from. I'm assuming you will say the third act isn't as strong and lets the film go a little bit, and I might agree with you. But what I come back to on thinking about this movie is the fun scenes are fun and the not fun scenes are extremely not fun intentionally. And I think they blend super well. But I'd love to hear, just give me your general take on this movie.
Yeah, I think it's fun. My criticism was actually with do I think the third act's very good? No, I don't. But really it's the second act that I'm upset about. The meandering. Oh, really? I would say it's very meandering. It's we kind of have this thing where she keeps getting dropped in the body and she's increasingly paranoid and whatever. And she's learning this stuff. But I just thought it got tedious. This repeated kind of concept quickly becomes gimmicky. This I'm getting dropped into a new body and I'm experiencing this story on top of my personal life, right? And it is a nice parallel between the two, because in the second layer of the story, in Sandy's story, we kind of get this critique of I guess I would say toxic masculinity. I would say these men who are throwing themselves all over women, and that's paralleled with Thomas and Mackenzie, Eloise's problems with fitting in at college and fitting into this party lifestyle. So I think that's nice, but it gets really exhausting to kind of switch between these two characters over and over again. There's a lot of buildup for a twist that I really don't think is that great, but you're right. The movie is really fun in its own scenes. It's really interesting. It's aesthetically pleasing. And I loved a lot of the dance scenes, the singing scenes. I thought there was one scene that was genuinely kind of creepy, which was when, what is the boyfriend's name?
Sandy's boyfriend, or
no?
John. Okay,
John. Good pick for a name.
Solid choice. Good job.
We'll just name him John.
Well, the other dude's name is Jack, though, Sam. So
right. It's like ridiculous. So yeah, when Eloise sneaks John into her room, and then she has kind of these horrific visions, and the glass shatters. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with this movie.
Okay. I'll push back.
Again, I think it's the plot that has a problem.
Okay. I'll push back a little bit and say, we do. You're right. It is a very repetitious. Eloise travels into Sandy's body a lot of times, not doing a whole lot, almost because she can't do a whole lot. We see a lot of. I think another complaint I saw a lot of was we just see so much of these muted men.
Yeah.
And I think I actually really like both of those. It's used as an overwhelming effect. We're supposed to feel like we can't get away from this because that's how Eloise is feeling.
Yeah.
We want there to feel, or Edgar Wright wanted there to feel like there's no way out. And to an extent, maybe that's what he's hinting at is, you can't escape what's in your mind. And I just think a lot of this movie is done to feel like it's overwhelming you. And I think that's done effectively, and we get to live through that with Eloise as she's trying to solve what's going on. Why is she going back in time?
Yeah, it's that part, it's fun. We're both suckers for a good psychological thriller. But I think it just gets repetitive after a while.
Yeah.
This twist at the end, which I felt was kind of
I saw it coming.
I did too. And that says something because I am not good at predicting twists. I don't know why. I'm just bad at it. But you saw
this one. Okay, interesting.
I saw this one coming, and I didn't want to believe it because it doesn't really make sense. Why, if Sandy didn't die, then why is she haunted by this idea of being viciously murdered over and over again? Secondly, other thing that doesn't make sense, was she not poisoned? Was Eloise not poisoned at the end of this movie? How did she not die? I don't understand that either.
Yeah, so I won't be able to defend the poison. Maybe I guess the ambulance or the EMTs could have got there in time, but I will say for Sandy's why is she terrified of being killed over and over is that she does say that she was murdered, or she did die a bunch of times because these men would take her against her will, essentially.
Right.
I would say that's why for that. It's still, this movie definitely the twist, if nothing else, it does change your perspective on the movie if you were to watch it through again.
I suppose so.
I think which is what a twist is supposed to do. I'm not sure if the twist is good for the movie, though. Most twists make it a better movie.
Yeah.
I don't know if this one does. Which is a major complaint. It certainly won't detriment my grade entirely, but
yeah,
I will agree with you there. Twist was weak.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say about it. It's fun. It's a good time. It's fun to see in a theater.
I had a blast with this movie, which sounds so ridiculous because it's very dark, but I thought it was cool.
No, I don't think you can blame yourself for that, because I think it is supposed to be fun. I do.
Yeah. One more thing I'll say is that trailer had me really nervous for Thomasin McKenzie's performance. I thought she was going to be bad, and she surprised me. I thought she was pretty good. So that was another. Maybe I was just caught off guard by.
Thomasin McKenzie is lovely and charming. I
don't know why I thought it was going to be bad. Just the trailer made me nervous.
Yeah, it does. It does. Some of her delivery is weird because she's from New Zealand.
Is she?
Okay. She's not actually British.
She's a Kiwi. Okay, I see.
Yeah, so that's why her accent is like slightly off, but
okay.
I think she does a good job.
Yeah. Yeah, it was cool. Do you want to start this one out?
Yeah, I'll start it out at a 3 out of 5. I think it's a low 3, but I think it's a good time. It's definitely worth a recommend.
Okay,
definitely worth going to see. Yeah, I thought it's fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna go a whole star above you. I'm gonna go 4. I walked out of the theater and just thought this is one of my favorite theater experiences of the year. So I had to give it a high score. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Sam. Let's this one almost might be the one I'm most anticipating talking about. Pablo Larraín Spencer. It's and it sounds like you're excited too.
I'm excited.
Good.
Yeah.
Gosh, where do we start on this one? I guess the obvious place to start is Kirsten Stewart. How do you think she did?
It is it is a remarkable performance.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I don't know if the Academy, I think she'll get a nom for sure.
She better.
I don't think the Academy will be ballsy enough to give it to her, but in my book, from what I've seen so far, I think she deserves
the win.
A win.
Okay.
I think it's a truly stunning performance. One, because again, the accents, she nails the accent. But it's also an incredibly neurotic performance. It's not this is how I'll frame the larger discussion that we're having. I was reading some articles on this movie, and it says that, director Pablo Larraín set out looking to make the anti-biopic. And I think that is a brilliant way to describe this movie, because it is an anti-biopic. It takes place under historical conditions with real historical figures, but it imagines all of the dialogue and really the entire plot line. It's a fairy tale.
Yeah.
And as the movie goes on, you realize, oh, this is like a psychological thriller. This is what they're going for. They're trying to lean into this dark fairy tale kind of aesthetic. And what I love about that is I'm tired of biopics.
Yeah.
I think biopics are kind of stupid. I would rather watch a documentary,
Yeah.
Sure. I don't think biopics make for good drama all the time. Some do. There's a lot of notable exceptions, but I think this is such a gutsy move, and I think it's.
Oh, you mean Rhapsody? Yep.
Yeah. It's just making a fairy tale out of Princess Diana and everything she has to deal with, and Kristen Stewart delivers on every level.
Yeah, so she's number one on Gold Derby, at least, for Best Actress.
Mm-hmm.
And it's infinitely times deserved. I would say, I didn't read much about this movie going in. I didn't have super high expectations. I was a major fan of Pablo Larraín's Jackie, which would be an awesome double feature, these two.
Yeah.
So I was a big fan of that. But coming into this, I didn't really read anything, not even really a plot synopsis. I just knew it was the Kirsten Stewart Princess Diana movie.
Yep.
And as soon as it came across the screen, it said something to the extent of a fable, true tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, oh, good, it's a fable. That good. We're gonna get a very focused micro story rather than telling this ginormous Princess Diana story, which could be 12 hours.
Yeah.
I knew it was just going to be at most a couple days or at most a couple weeks. And, we got like 3 days just to stretch over Christmas. And that was perfect. That was wonderfully ideal. And I kind of thought, I was like, that shows a lot of maturity to kind of say, hey, I'm going to make a Princess Diana movie and it's going to take place over 3 days. And we're not going to see anything other than those 3 days. Yeah. That was awesome. That was perfect. And Kristen Stewart, she, not a lot of transformation here, but she does look like her, which is great.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was wonderfully told.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I wasn't sure, when Anne Boleyn kind of first got introduced, I was like, where are we going with this? I didn't really know what was happening. And by the end of it, obviously we're Pablo Larraín, and we as the audience members are drawing huge comparisons to the two of them. And it's really fascinating, really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing that was so powerful about it is I wasn't expecting my expectations were much lower because I was expecting a biopic.
Yeah.
The trailer looks great, but the trailer implies biopic. That's what it has written all over it. And then you get into this and it's very, like you said, very focused on the character. It's very focused on Diana. It plays with kind of this paranoia, this sense of suffocation she's feeling as a result of being married into the royal family for so long, and everything is scheduled. Her dresses, when they eat, when they play, it's brilliantly written,
and it's driving her insane, which is awesome.
It's driving her insane, and I think what's so great about it is it's imagined, but I think it's very real. I think the emotions behind it must be very much what Diana felt when she decided to divorce from the family.
Yeah.
And that we need more movies like this.
This was awesome.
Yeah. Not just from Pablo Larraín, but just in general. Like, if you have an interesting historical figure to make a movie about,
which there are plenty of,
make some stuff up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
if I want to know exactly what happened in Princess Diana's life, the first source I'm going to is not going to be a movie based on her. So might as well do something fun and interesting with it.
Yeah. And I remember thinking about this in like 2019, like around this time 2 years ago, when The Irishman comes out. And I know how you feel about that movie, but
never heard of it. What's it about?
But there's all this controversy surrounding the movie because it's like, this historical guy that De Niro plays, Frank Sheeran, he probably didn't actually kill Hoffa. Like, the historical evidence points to the fact that he didn't kill Hoffa and he was just making this up. And it's like, my response to all of that was, who cares? Like, it's a cool story.
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you're saying.
So yeah, I think people need to be less concerned about historical accuracy, because that's for the documentarians to make.
Yeah. The first time in this movie where I was like, oh boy, this is really going to be something special, is we see her. I think it's the first dinner scene. She breaks her pearls and kind of spills it in the soup or whatever they're eating. And she starts eating them, and I'm kind of thinking, what is going on? And then it cuts to her kind of stumbling through the hallway, and she eventually, we're led to believe she's going to throw them up. She's going to throw up the pearls. Right. But you're still kind of like, what's going on? This is weird. And obviously she throws up and there's no pearls. And then it kind of pans up to her face and you can see the pearls around her neck. And you're thinking, oh, I thought, oh, that was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was so great. That, she's clearly, Princess Diana is clearly in her head and is being driven insane by this family who is very demanding and forceful and punctual, who she clearly is not that. And it's just very purposeful. And this movie was just great.
Some wonderful symbolism too with the pearls and what they represent. Just running through the entire narrative thread. Some brilliant stuff when she goes back to her old house and she's standing on top of the stairs.
She finally breaks them. Yep.
That was a genuinely haunting scene. Really well done. So yeah, I think we're both fans.
And let me ask you about the ending too, because I love that the ending took a positive approach. We'd kind of been bombarded by just the horrors and just how sad her life or these few days have been, but hinting towards her prior years in this family. And we learned that this good friend of hers, Maggie, Sally Hawkins' character, who is awesome, is in love with her, and she's really excited about that. We don't know what that's going to be, but it's a positive note, and she gets her children and they drive off and be normal for a little while.
Right.
It really ends on a positive note, which I thought was a brilliant choice.
Yeah. And then, this idea of her being, Diana the mother and then Diana the public figure. It's always interesting to see people like that wearing like jeans and a t-shirt, Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, I think we're both really highly complimentary of this movie.
Yeah, this was super cool. One more thing I gotta say, we saw Sean Harris earlier this year in The Green Knight, the chef character. I thought he was really cool in this too, dude. I was kind of like, I don't know what Sean Harris is doing in The Green Knight. I don't know if I want to see him and stuff, but I kind of want to see him and stuff now. I liked it.
Yeah, I feel you. I don't blame you. He
was like a calming presence.
He was a very calming presence, and he's actually. It's a very interesting decision to make to cast him as the kind of head chef because food and Diana and an obvious eating disorder, and there's just an interesting character dynamic going on there. Loved it. So I gave this 3.5 stars. I'm thinking I want to bump that up to 4.
Do it, because I'm right there too. 4 stars out of me.
Okay, I think this is a great movie. I really do.
This will most certainly. I have to imagine. I hope it's not in my top 10 of the year, because that just means we had an awesome year. But I have to imagine this will make an appearance in my top 10.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. I'm editing my review right now. All right, 4 stars.
Good.
Wonderful. Well, and we'll see how the year pans out, but this was a nice little batch of movies.
This was a fun episode too. I kind of like this shorter form reviews and a couple of them at a time.
Format. It's very unusual for us to have more movies than we know what to do with.
Yeah, that was it was funny because I was talking to a friend and I'm like, there's like 7 movies I need to see in 2 weeks, and it's kind of overwhelming. Belfast just came out, and I'm like, when am I going to get to that? And then we have King Richard this weekend, and there's just a lot going on.
Remember those days when we did a full hour-long episode on Eurovision?
Well, I tried not to, but you just brought it back, so now I do.
Remember? I think you need to remember that.
Oh gosh, Eurovision.
Okay.
Awesome.
Anyway.
Well, Sam, great episode. Do you have a recommendation for us, or I can start us off? It's up to you.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Yeah. I've probably seen 50 episodes of this on in the background of this particular TV show I'm about to recommend. And I finally thought, you know what? I should probably watch one of the most revolutionary sitcoms of all time, that being Seinfeld. So I'm finally making time. I'm going start to finish. I'm watching it. I'm trying to do, an episode a day. So, times are busy though. So I'm working my way through. I'm at about season 3 right now, and so funny, man. I love the structure of it with, kind of Jerry's actual stand-up kind of spliced throughout is clever and an original take. But the show is just hilarious. I mean, Jerry's obviously an awesome character, and the fact that he's playing himself in a TV show and it's his exact self, except just slightly less famous because he doesn't have the TV show in the TV show, if that makes sense, is awesome. George is just a complete nut job, which makes it, or he's just total paranoid nut job, which is awesome. Kramer's just an actual nut job, which is hilarious. And then Elaine is psychotic as well. Awesome show. Really, really funny. It's a bit laugh tracky, but what are you going to do?
Yeah. There's something about I live with 5 other men, and the way we bond a lot of the time is we sit in the living room and we have some cocktails and we watch Seinfeld.
Nice.
That is how we spend a lot of our weekends. So yeah, I just I'm obviously well versed in the important episodes, but I haven't seen a lot of the more minor ones that people don't talk about because it's a sitcom. You watch it out of order. It's pre-streaming, but now it's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix, which is so nice.
Yeah. Kind of dangerous, but
until they take it off, right?
You can spend a lot of time there. So yeah, wonderful.
Yep.
I am going to talk about briefly. So right now, I might have mentioned before, in college, I'm in a Shakespeare class. And we read 5 Shakespeare plays this semester. Kind of odd picks, weird picks.
What did you read? Let me ask that.
I read Much Ado About Nothing, Merchant of Venice, which I have read before.
I have too. I like that. Merchant of Venice is good.
Merchant of Venice is an interesting play. The first part of Henry IV, so 1 Henry IV, which the plays in 2 parts. There's something interesting there as well. Shakespeare more or less invented the idea of a saga, like multiple plays. Like he basically invented a franchise, is what he did with his histories, because all of the histories,
thank you, Shakespeare,
take place subsequently after each other. So we read that, and then King Lear, and now we're reading The Tempest. So for our final, which I've kind of started on, our final essay that we're writing, we have to write about which of the 5 is the greatest that we've read this semester and why. And it's like, well, that's a complicated question. But to me, clearly the answer is King Lear. I think it's like, in terms of plays that sum up life, Shakespeare plays, it's Hamlet, Macbeth, and Lear. Those are the important ones.
Oh, Romeo and Juliet, but okay.
Romeo and Juliet is the McDonald's of Shakespeare.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
But no. So I was like, okay. So how do I kind of gain a new appreciation after reading this? So I'm like, I'm going back to that Anthony Hopkins version from 2018 of King Lear.
This what?
Incredible cast. It's an Amazon original, co-produced with BBC Two. Anthony Hopkins, Emma Thompson, Emily Watson, Florence Pugh, Andrew Scott, if you're familiar.
I am, yeah.
He's been in a few things. So wonderful cast. And it's they update the setting, so it's like a kind of like an alternate present day Britain where everything's very militarized and the king still holds absolute power. So it's modern, but of course it retains the Shakespearean language, which I don't mind. I used to hate that, but I don't mind it. And just a wonderful cast. And I think Hopkins gives one of the best performances I've ever seen in like anything ever. Like, it's just incredible.
He'll do that to you.
He'll do that to you. And it's cool too, because Hopkins has always said, he's like, yeah, Lear's my favorite play. And I've been doing Lear on the stage for years.
Oh,
like,
cool. So he
had been playing Lear like when he was like 50. And what's cool about this adaptation is he was 80 at the time of filming, and Lear in the play textually is supposed to be 80 years old. And I was watching an interview with Hopkins, and he's like, yeah, I used to think I could understand Lear when I was like 50, 60. It's like, no, you have to be 80 years old to fully get him. Like, now I'm finally getting it. I think that's absolutely brilliant. His take on the character is completely new and interesting and really different from what everyone before him has done. So check out King Lear 2018, streaming on Amazon Prime Video. Really worth watching.
Yeah, cool. Well, hey, it was a great episode. Awesome that we could finally get back and do this little show.
It was a lot of fun.
Where can I find you on Letterboxd, Sam?
If you're looking, you can find me on letterboxd.com/sjdierberger. And where can I find you, Will?
You can find me on Letterboxd at Will Spalding, and you can find us at anchor.fm/thosefilmnerds, and Those Film Nerds on all podcast platforms, and thosefilmnerds.weebly.com and all other sorts of places. But Sam, until next time.
Keep watching movies, everyone. Have a great week.
Thank you.